Hey, what's going on, guys? Gonna be a quick video here today just because I wanted to take a look here at the Sustainable Nipper Advance from Plamokojo. Now, I'm sure a lot of you guys have probably seen about this online. This was an item that was released not too long ago, and it's a very interesting set of nippers here because the main feature is that the blade is replaceable. So you will have to, of course, then also have replacement blades for this, which you have to get your hands on, which may or may not be the easiest thing in the world. But Plamokojo is a company which I've taken a look at a few of their products in the past. They kind of specialize in, I would say, niche and or sort of like luxury tools, in that they're tools that you really don't need at all, but at the very least they're trying to make different tools and accessories for modelers that are at least different and unique in some way, and so commendable for that reason, I would have to say. But yeah, just here for the packaging, we have some nice artwork down there at the bottom of kind of the mascot characters of the company, and around here on the back there is some more info, just kind of basically about how to change the blade, how to use the nippers. Essentially, you're going to have to use a small Allen wrench. You can tighten and loosen that. So there's some instructions here for you. Everything's all in Japanese. And then you can get a set of replacement blades. So you can get a set of 3 replacement blades for this. But like I said, I've tried ordering some, and I think these are a little bit hard to get your hands on. So that's going to be the only trouble with these, is that if you do happen to, break the blade for some reason, or if your blade gets dull, or for whatever reason you need to replace it, if you can't get your hands on replacement blades, then they're essentially useless. One thing that I will say when it comes to nippers, now we will try these out here in just a moment, but when it comes to nippers, I mean, whether you're using God hands or USA Gundam Store nippers or Tamiya nippers or, fingernail cutters, honestly, there's really not ever going to be too much of a difference. It just really depends more so on your techniques. So here is the nippers themselves. Let me set those down here for just a second, because if you fold this over here, you'll see it looks like we do have a tool included, or at least it would appear that way. Let's see what else we have in here if we pull this out. All right, yeah, under that lower part here, we have the cap for the nippers, and then also the kind of included Allen wrench, which we can use with that little tool bit there. And let's see, these are in 2 different sizes. One is T5, one is H1.5, and basically you're just going to put these in opposite ends of this holder tool right here, which has the plamokojo.com website there on that, and the logo is also printed on the just plastic nipper cap, which will just kind of go over the top there like that, and does hold it pretty tightly. I do have to say, I do kind of like that. I've had other ones that are like plastic like that on other nippers, where it just kind of fits on there somewhat loosely and doesn't fall off necessarily, but I know that this one's definitely not going to fall off. It's really quite tight on there. And so we've got 2 different size of Allen wrench here, just because there is 2 different types of screws. One is for right here, and this is going to be for adjusting that screw on the inside, which is basically your stopper when you're using the nippers, so that you don't over squeeze these too tightly and press the blade too much. So you just want to make sure that that's adjusted, and also so that these are meeting without leaving a gap and or not overlapping, or like I said, putting too much pressure on the blade if you have this screwed out too much, basically. And then our other end here is of course going to be for this blade screw here, which we can use for when we want to change the blade. Now I'm just gonna take this out right now just so that we can check out the blade here. And so yeah, essentially, I mean, it's just a little tiny razor blade, which is just made in the shape of the nipper, and I mean, it looks very sharp. There's no doubt about that, and I'm sure it will cut well. But like I was just saying a moment ago, I mean, like, as long as you're using nippers, in a good, proper fashion, I mean, any nipper is going to work, and any nipper is gonna cut the plastic that you need it to cut. The main thing you're going to want to look out for is essentially just like the durability of the blade. How well does the blade hold up over time before it gets dull? And then how susceptible is the blade to breaking if you're trying to cut through like a thicker diameter of plastic, for example. And these are actually not both Allen wrenches. The larger one for the screws on the side of the nipper are that one is an Allen wrench. This one actually is a tiny star wrench here, for the one that is actually for removing the blade. So just a heads up on that. But yeah, just in terms of the overall feel of the nippers here, we have a nice rubber for the handle. The yellow part is also in rubber, so it's not like it's like a hard plastic and the rubber on the outside. It does seem to be all in this kind of softer, more comfortable rubber. And then you can see we also have this little grip part here at the end. That's actually so, and you can use this on either the left or the right side, so depending on how you're handling the nippers. That's just for if you're someone like me and you have kind of larger hands, you'll notice like when you're using this, your pinky is basically kind of slipping off the end there because they're just like too small in hand. And so this just basically gives you that little bit, it just extends the handle ever so slightly on that side, so when you're using them, it's just a bit more comfortable. Your pinky's not slipping off, and you can use this kind of a little bit more comfortably. But right now, the important part, the test. So I've got a couple of parts here that I want to try out, and let's see how these are going to work. Now, I've always been an advocate for not cutting directly up against the part, so I'm not going to do that. I'm going to be leaving a little bit of gate here attached onto the part. And as you can see there, looks like a pretty clean cut on those gates there, and there. Try it again as close as I can here to show you guys, but I think that, like I said before, I mean, they seem to be working just fine, as I would imagine here. And there is a little bit of resistance, but I think that's perfectly fine as long as the cut is clean, and it does look very clean. Now, this is not necessarily a recommended use for nippers, but I do want to try just cutting a piece of the runner itself, just because this is obviously a much larger gauge of plastic here. This is probably about 3 millimeters in thickness here. And so, yeah, normally with nippers, especially if you're using like God hands, for example, really expensive nippers, don't really do this. This is not what they're for. But again, just to kind of test, number one, just the durability. I don't expect the blade to break on the first couple of cuts like this, although it definitely could happen. It does seem like these are handling this thicker runner really without too much issue here. It's really just kind of chopping right through it, and normally it would feel a little bit more resistance, but it does feel pretty smooth. And for an example, like this is something that I do all the time with my USA Gundam Store nippers, and they're holding up like just perfectly fine. And so with these, actually, not only is it cutting through pretty smoothly, that's pretty clean there as well. As you're noticing, it looks like a pretty flush, flat cut without actually tearing the plastic or ripping the plastic. A lot of times what you'll get is as the nipper is closing, it's slicing through about halfway, and then the other half is actually just the pressure of the blade, which is actually just kind of breaking the plastic. And it doesn't really seem like that's the case. It seems like it is getting a pretty good clean cut all the way through without actually breaking the plastic off. So I gotta say, as far as the sharpness is originally with these, it does look pretty good. Now, the whiteness that you're seeing is an indication of stress on the plastic, but again, this is not normal circumstances that you would want to be cutting anything quite this thick with your nippers. But at least for the time being, I mean, they seem to be doing a pretty good job, I gotta say. And that said, I think the main issue with these is probably just going to be, you know, eventually, once you do start to wear down the blades a little bit, because they are essentially just like knife blades. And as far as like using knife blades for your hobby knife, I usually go through a new blade about like every couple of high grades or every master grade or so. The blades do get dull, and I usually replace my blades on my hobby knife fairly regularly, as it's just better to use a sharper blade anyway. And if it's anything like that, then you're gonna need replacement blades, you know, in a relatively short amount of time. It kind of depends on how much you're using them, of course. And I would imagine the blades are engineered to be a bit stronger and a bit more lasting than like a standard hobby knife blade. Yeah, eventually you're gonna need more, and the problem is just going to be how easy is it going to be to get more. Because if we take a look at the blade up close right now, after just a couple minutes of use here, essentially just making you know, less than 10 cuts, it does look like the blade already does have a little bit of damage there on the edge of that. And it's kind of hard to tell, but I mean, if that's any indication, then yeah, I wouldn't expect these to necessarily last too long. I think that's going to be the main problem with them. Anyway, guys, that's going to be about it for the Sustainable Nipper Advance from Plamokojo. I'm not really sure what the deal is with the name too, Sustainable. I'm not exactly sure what's sustainable about this. I guess you can use the nippers longer because rather than replacing the nipper, you just replace the blade. But if you can't get the blade, then you're still going to have to get a whole new set of nippers. I usually use the same set of nippers for a number of years, and as you guys know, I build a lot of model kits. Nippers generally last pretty long, so I think you generally get more than your money's worth out of just any normal set of nippers. So there's not really anything I think more sustainable about these. The other issue is that you have this tool that you need, and don't go losing this, because if you lose that, then you're also not going to be able to change that without finding yourself a tiny little star screwdriver to be able to undo that screw on there. So there's pros and cons. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. What do you think about these nippers? Have you got a set for yourself? What do you think about them? How do you enjoy them? And of course, if there's anything that I missed, if you guys have any other further questions or comments, anything else that you would like to see be tested with these, let me know, and I can maybe post that as just like a YouTube short or something. Let me know in the comment section. As always, guys, thank you so much for all of your support. Check out the link in the video description to USA Gundam Store, where we have absolutely outstanding nippers that are available there on the website. And if you add them to your order, you do get free shipping on your order. So definitely would be the nippers I would recommend to you guys. But thank you so much for checking out the video, leaving a like, and making sure that you're subscribed. I really appreciate all your guys' support. Thank you so much. Until next time, have a great day, guys. See y'all later. Bye-bye.